My name is Jenna, and the first time my boss stole from me, he didn't take money. He took my future. He took it in a glass conference room with a Bluetooth clicker in his hand and my slides on the screen, smiling at the VP like he'd built something from scratch. When he finished, everyone around the table clapped. "Brilliant work, Mark," the VP said. "Just what we need. This is exactly the kind of strategic thinking that deserves a promotion." I sat at the back of the room, my name stripped from every chart and bullet point, wondering if anyone else could hear the sound of something breaking inside my chest. I didn't say anything that day. I didn't know how. But a few years later, when he walked into another conference room and realized the person at the head of the table, the new regional director, was me, I knew exactly what to say. "Good to see you again, Mark," I said, sliding performance reports across the table. "Let's talk about your numbers." I grew up outside Columbus, Ohio, in a family that believed in corporate fairy tales. My dad worked for the same manufacturing company for 35 years. He started on the line, moved into maintenance, then safety. He never made big money, but we always had enough. As long as you were loyal and worked hard, he told me, companies took care of you. My mom stayed at home until my brother and I were in middle school, then did part-time bookkeeping for a local dentist. She'd balance ledgers at the kitchen table and say things like, "Numbers don't lie, but people do." Always read the fine print. I inherited both of them, my dad's loyalty and my mom's suspicion. In high school, I was the kid who color-coded group projects and volunteered to build the PowerPoint. In college, I majored in business because it was the closest thing to a safe bet. Junior year, I landed an internship with a mid-sized retail chain, Brightway Home, one of those big-box home goods stores you see in every suburban plaza. They sold towels, lamps, rugs, the whole suburban starter pack. Headquarters was a bland building off the freeway with a giant logo and a cafeteria that smelled like burnt coffee. I loved it. It looked like the inside of my dad's promises. A stable company, pension plans, career ladders. If you worked hard, you could climb. That's what they told us at orientation. That's what I believed. After graduation, Brightway offered me an entry-level role as a merchandising analyst. I was 22, excited, and earning just enough to rent a small, slightly moldy studio in the city. My job was mostly data, pull sales reports for different stores, analyze which categories were under or overperforming, prepare summaries for regional managers. If you've ever wondered who decides that your local store suddenly has 6 aisles of scented candles and no coffee makers, it's people like I was then, squinting at spreadsheets in windowless rooms. My boss, Mark Hastings, was the regional merchandising manager. He was in his early 40s, tall, with the kind of forced charisma you learn from 10x Your Influence podcasts. He wore 2 tight dress shirts and used words like synergy unironically. On my second day, he walked by my cubicle, glanced at my monitor, and said, "You fast with Excel?" "I'm pretty good," I said. "Good," he said. "I like smart people on my team. Just remember, in this game, loyalty matters more than genius. Stay in my circle and I'll take you places." At 22, that sounded less like a red flag and more like mentorship. He became my first mentor. It took me a while to realize that, in his mind, that word meant free labor with praise instead of pay. I was good at the job. Really good. I liked making sense of messy numbers. I liked finding patterns in sales that no one else saw. I liked being the person the regional team came to when they needed a tricky analysis. "Go to Jenna," they'd say. "She can pull that in 10 minutes. Mark noticed. He started handing me more work. Not officially. Nothing that came with a title change or salary bump. Just stretch projects. He'd drop by my desk at 4:45 p.m. with a thumb drive or a shared folder. "Hey, rockstar," he'd say. "Got a little project for you. Don't worry, this one's good for your brand. Senior leadership is going to see it." My brand. I'd stay late. Build decks, create pivot tables, write talking points. He'd CC me on the email to the VP with my work attached once, maybe twice. Then it became from Mark, with thanks to the team. I told myself it was normal. That's how corporate worked. You supported your boss. Your boss took care of you. He did, in small ways. He'd throw me a nice job in meetings. Once, he let me present a small piece of a slide deck to the regional team. Afterward, in the hallway, he clapped me on the back. You've got potential, he said. Keep your head down and your turn will come. The implicit clause at the end of that sentence was, ... as long as you don't threaten mine. I didn't hear it yet. About 2 years into my time at Brightway, the region hit a wall. Sales were down. Foot traffic was dropping. Online was eating our lunch. Corporate started hinting at restructuring and performance improvement plans. That's corporate speak for some of you who are about to be unemployed. An emergency meeting was called with regional leadership. We sat in a U-shaped conference room while the VP, a sharp woman named Rachel, laid it out. Our region is underperforming, she said. We're not meeting targets. Headquarters is looking at us. We need ideas, not just work harder. Structural change, programs, pilots. Something we can roll out quickly and test. People murmured, nodded, offered small suggestions. Tweak promotions. Change signage. Nothing that would move the needle. I sat there, heart racing, because I did have an idea. I'd been quietly tracking data on certain SKUs and noticing weird patterns. Some stores that partnered with local designers and contractors on small events DIY workshops. Design nights saw big, sustained lifts in related categories. Not just on event days. For weeks. No one had consolidated that information. No one had built a program around it. I had. On my own time. In a color-coded file titled, Regional Community Hub Pilot Draft. My idea was simple. Turn underused corners of certain stores into community hubs. Host low-cost, high-perceived value workshops with local partners. Collect sign-ups and emails. Drive repeat trips and loyalty. It wasn't rocket science. It was just organized. I'd modeled the costs. Projected conservative lifts based on existing data. Built tiered plans depending on store size. I didn't speak up in that meeting. I wasn't senior enough. I wasn't on the invite list as a decision maker. I was there to take notes. Afterward, Mark pulled me aside. You look like you swallowed a secret, he said. What's going on? I've been working on something, I admitted. A program idea. Community events. I think it could help. I've got numbers. His eyes lit up. Really? He said. Why didn't you say something? Because I'm an analyst, I said. I didn't think it was my place in the room. He waved that away. Rachel wants ideas, he said. She doesn't care where they come from. Send me what you've got tonight. We'll look at it together, polish it up, and present it as a regional initiative. Together? I asked. Of course, he said. You'll be in the room. This could be big for you. I believed him. So that night, I stayed in the office until almost midnight. I pulled together everything. A full deck. Supporting spreadsheets. An implementation timeline. Risk analysis. I sent it to him with a shaky little smiley face in the subject line. Community Hub Pilot Draft V1 for review. He replied at 1:13 a.m. Nice work. Needs some refinement, but there's something here. Let me handle it. Let me handle it. I told myself that was normal. That's what bosses did. They handled it. I didn't realize he meant, let me handle taking credit. The next week he stopped by my desk. Big news, he said. Rachel loved the draft. I tweaked it, of course. We're meeting with her and the other VPs next Thursday to present. Strategic offsite. My heart jumped. Am I going? I asked. He shook his head sympathetically. Not this time, he said. Too political. Too high level. You wouldn't be able to say anything anyway. But don't worry. I'll mention your involvement. Mention my involvement. That phrase landed like a rock. Can I at least review the final deck? I asked. Soon, he said, already walking away. Busy week. You know how it is. I did know. But not yet how much. Thursday came. I wasn't invited to the off-site. I was in the office, covering emails and running the regular reports. Around 3 in the afternoon, a coworker, Sam, pinged me on chat. Hey, he wrote. Are you at the off-site? Nope, I replied. Why? Because they're presenting some kind of community hub initiative, he wrote. Looks a lot like the document you showed me last month. My chest tightened. Who's presenting? I typed. Who do you think? He wrote. Mark. I sat there, hands hovering over the keyboard, pulse racing. I went to the shared drive. Search, community hub. Nothing. Search, pilot. Nothing relevant. I checked my sent items. My email to Mark was there. Attached files intact. No one else copied. my stomach twisted. Hours later, Mark breezed back into the office, tie loosened, looking smug. How'd it go? I asked, trying to keep my voice cool. Great, he said. They loved it. Said it was just what they were looking for. We're going to pilot in Q2. I'm going to lead the rollout. I asked. Am I involved? We'll see, he said. There's a lot of moving parts. You'll definitely be doing some of the analysis. And did you mention that it was my idea? I asked, forcing the words out casually. He laughed. Jenna, he said. No idea belongs to one person. You pulled some numbers. I shaped it. I sold it. That's how this works. Pulled some numbers? I repeated. I wrote the entire proposal. With my guidance, he said. Look, don't get hung up on credit. You're on my team. When I move up, you move up. That's the real win. Something in me went icy. Did my name appear anywhere in the deck? I asked. He hesitated. That's not the point, he said. This is about the region, not your ego. So that was a no. My name, my work had vanished. His had grown. 2 weeks later, we had another all-hands regional meeting. Rachel, the VP, stood in front of the room with a slide that said, announcing, the Community Hub Initiative, a regional pilot led by Mark Hastings. She talked about how excited she was, how innovative it was, how they hope to expand it company-wide if the metrics held. At the end, she said, and I'm thrilled to announce that Mark will be stepping into a new role as Senior Regional Manager to lead this program. Congratulations. The room clapped. Some people whooped. I stared down at my notebook so no one would see my face. That promotion? Senior Regional Manager? Mark had been hinting for months that it would be open soon. He'd said things like, if you keep this up, Jenna, I can see you on that track. Maybe not next year, but soon. Apparently soon meant for someone else, using your work. After the meeting, people patted him on the back. He made a show of being humble. It was a team effort, he said. We've got great analysts. No one looked at me. They didn't know. When I got back to my desk, there was an email from him. Let's catch up later. Don't look so down. This is good for all of us. I didn't respond. That afternoon, I asked for a meeting with HR. The HR business partner for our region was a man named Tom, who wore cardigans and used phrases like managing expectations a lot. I sat across from him in his cramped office and told him everything. I showed him the time-stamped files I'd sent Mark, the original draft with my name in the footer. The version he'd presented leaked to me by Sandwich had my name stripped from every page. I tried to keep my voice calm. I mostly succeeded. This isn't just a hurt feelings thing, I said. This is ethical. He took credit for my work to get a promotion we both knew I was in the pipeline for. I'm not asking you to demote him. I'm asking for acknowledgement. For something that shows the company doesn't reward this. Tom listened, nodding. I hear that you feel hurt, he said. I gripped the arms of the chair. This isn't about feelings, I said. It's about facts. He steepled his fingers. Here's the challenge, he said. Ideas in a corporate environment are collaborative. It's hard to draw bright lines around who did what. Mark has a long track record here. You're relatively new. From leadership's perspective, he led the initiative. I stared at him. So because he's been here longer, he gets to steal? I asked. No one's saying that, he said quickly. But we have to look at the broader pattern. Promotions are about more than a single project. They're about visibility, soft skills, the ability to sell upwards. Mark clearly has those. I almost laughed. So I should have stolen my own work better, I said. He winced. Look, he said. If we escalate this, it could get messy. Politics, allegations. You don't want to be known as the analyst who tried to tank her boss's promotion. That could follow you. My advice? Use this as a learning experience. Next time, make sure you're in the room. Build your network. Be a team player. Your time will come. I left his office feeling like I'd been slimed. HR hadn't been about protection. It had been about risk management. For the company. Not for me. I walked back to my desk. Opened my email. Typed up a polite 2-sentence resignation letter. And sent it to Tom and Mark. If they saw it coming, they never told me. Here's what no one tells you about righteous rage. It doesn't pay your rent. Quitting felt good for about 12 hours. Then the panic set in. No job. No income. A lease on my little studio that didn't care how hurt my feelings were. I temped for a while. Short-term gigs, reception, data entry. I applied to 100 jobs and heard back from 5. At interviews, when they asked why I left Brightway, I gave a non-explosive version of the truth. I was ready for a different culture, I'd say. Somewhere with more room for individual contribution. Translation: somewhere that doesn't reward theft. Most places nodded kindly and moved on. One small e-commerce company, HomeGlow, didn't. They liked that I'd built programs in a struggling region. They liked that I had retail data experience. Their VP of operations, a no-nonsense woman named Alex, liked that I didn't sugarcoat things. "You got screwed," she said bluntly after I told her the real story off the record. "And then you left. That tells me 2 things. You have a spine, and you're not going to tolerate nonsense. I can work with that." She hired me as a merchandising strategist. Smaller title, less glamorous, but with more freedom than I'd ever had. At HomeGlow, ideas were traced. We documented who did what. Presentations had contributors listed. If someone helped, they got credit. It wasn't perfect. No place is. But it was better. I threw myself into the work. I built campaigns, designed bundles, optimized our category pages. Within a year, my projects were directly tied to major revenue lifts. Alex noticed. She put me forward for promotions and actually said my name in rooms I wasn't in. By 29, I was leading a small team. By 31, I was director of category strategy, overseeing multiple product lines. I had real power, not just a fancy title with no budget. And because of what had happened at Brightway, I used that power very carefully. When my team did something, they got credit. If someone tried to pass off their work as their own, I shut it down. I didn't become perfect, but I became the boss I'd wanted. Then, in corporate fashion, everything changed overnight. HomeGlow had been growing fast. Too fast for some of the old guard retail chains who'd watched their sales erode while customers clicked instead of drove. Eventually, one of those chains made a move. Brightway Home, the company that had lost me years earlier, announced a major merger with HomeGlow. On the surface, it looked like a partnership, combining the strength of in-store and online, the press release said. Internally, it meant something else. Redundant positions, reorgs, new reporting lines, charts shifting like tectonic plates. The rumor mill went wild. I tried to stay focused on my work. Control what you can control, Alex told our leadership team. Numbers, results, the rest will shake out. I believed her. Then Brightway's CEO and HomeGlow's CEO held a joint town hall. They talked about synergies and learnings. One slide caught my eye. Strategic leadership opportunities, it said. Underneath, bullet points. New roles to lead combined regional strategies. Seeking external and internal candidates. Focused on leaders with cross-channel experience. The first example role listed. Regional Director Midwest Operations, my old region. The one I'd left. The one where my stolen idea had become the Community Hub initiative, which had since quietly fizzled out after mixed results and poor execution. I felt something swirling in my chest. Not quite hope. Not quite dread. I sent an email to Alex. "Do you think I should apply?" She replied 6 minutes later. "If you don't, I will be personally offended. You are literally built for that job." I applied. Not with anger. With receipts. I submitted a results-focused resume. A cover letter with actual numbers. A portfolio of campaigns I'd led. In the interview, I didn't mention Mark. I didn't mention the promotion. I talked about turning stores into experience centers, balancing online and offline offers, leading teams across legacy cultures. The panel included people from both companies. Some I knew. Some knew of me. Rachel, the VP from my Brightway days, was there. She gave no sign of recognition at first. Then, in the second round, she pulled me aside. "I remember you," she said. "You were Mark's analyst. The one who did the heavy lifting on Community Hub, right?" It stunned me. "You?" I asked. She shrugged. "Mostly," she said. "We all kind of did. You were green. He sold well. I made a call, a bad one I think in hindsight. You left. We lost a good one. I've been watching your name pop up in HomeGlow decks for years." I didn't know what to say. "I can't promise you this job," she said. "But I'll tell you this. If we bring you in, it'll be because of what you've done since then, not as some cosmic apology. Fair enough, I said. 2 weeks later, I got the call. Congratulations, DAS HR said. We'd like to offer you the role of Regional Director Midwest Operations. I accepted. My dad, when I told him, practically burst. This is it, he said. See? Loyalty pays off. I didn't mention the irony. My first day as Regional Director, I walked into the same building where I'd once sat in a cubicle pulling reports for other people's presentations. This time, my badge said Director. I had an office with a door, a team, a budget, and a mandate: fix the region. Midwest was still underperforming. Foot traffic had never fully recovered from the last recession. Community Hub had become a cautionary tale internally: good idea, bad execution. People were nervous, resentful, hopeful. All at once. The org chart showed who reported to me now. Store managers, district managers, regional merchandising managers. One name stopped my eyes. Mark Hastings, Senior Regional Manager, Store Experience, he reported to me. The man who'd once told me to keep my head down was now 2 boxes under my name. My heart did a little involuntary victory drum. Then, weirdly, the drum quieted. Because now I had a new question. What kind of boss was I going to be? We had a regional leadership off-site scheduled for my second week. 2 days at a bland hotel conference room just off the interstate. Most of the people there knew each other. A mix of Brightway veterans and Homeglow imports. I stood at the front, going over the agenda, when the door opened and Mark walked in. He looked older, grayer at the temples, still wearing 2 tight shirts. He saw me, did a double take, and went a little pale. Everyone, this is Jenna Price, Rachel said, standing next to me. Our new regional director. Some of you remember her from her analyst days. She's back with a ton of experience from the digital side. We're lucky to have her. Polite applause. Mark forced a smile. Well, look at you, he said when the clapping died down. Didn't expect to see you back here, in that chair. I met his eyes. I could say the same, I said. Let's get started. We went over numbers, challenges, opportunities. I asked questions, listened, took notes. I kept it professional. At the end of the day, I scheduled one-on-one check-ins with each leader. 20 minutes each, I said. I want to hear what's really going on in your districts. I put Mark last, on purpose. When he came into my temporary office at the hotel, he closed the door and leaned against it, trying for casual. This is wild, he said. Life is funny, huh? That's one word for it, I replied. He sat. So, he said. Am I supposed to be worried? I tilted my head. About what? I asked. He gave me a look. Come on, Jenna, he said. We both know there's history. I was your boss. You feel like I wronged you. And now you're my boss. People love that kind of story. Karma. Revenge. Whatever. I leaned back. I'm not going to yell at you, I said. If that's what you're asking. Or fire you on the spot. That's not how I operate. He relaxed slightly. Good, he said. Because for what it's worth, I've thought about that situation a lot. With the community hub thing. I probably could have handled it better. You think? I asked dryly. He winced. Look, he said. I'm not here to relitigate it. But you should know, I've changed too. Leading that program wasn't what I expected. It almost got me fired. I overpromised, underdelivered. I've spent the last few years trying to fix what I broke. He slid a folder across the desk. Inside were updated reports. Not the inflated kind I used to see. Real numbers. Pilots that had worked, small, targeted ones. Adjustments he'd made to salvage what was left of Community Hub. They weren't genius. But they weren't nothing. I'm not the villain in your story anymore, he said. At least, I'm trying not to be. I studied him. The easy thing, the TV-worthy thing would have been to tear into him. To list every slight. To make him grovel. To demote him on the spot. The harder thing, I realized, was to treat him like what he now was. An employee with mixed performance and potential. Not a cartoon. A person. I'm not here to settle old scores, I said finally. I'm here to turn this region around. If you can help with that, great. If you can't, we'll make changes. But your fate isn't going to be decided by something that happened years ago. It's going to be decided by what you do now. He nodded slowly. That's fair, he said. However, I added, let's be very clear. I won't tolerate what you did to me happening to anyone else. If I hear about you taking credit for your team's work, we will have a very different conversation. Understood? He swallowed. Understood, he said. Good, I said. Now let's talk about your district performance. Because it's not where it needs to be. We spent the rest of the meeting on numbers, targets, plans. The revenge wasn't in yelling. It was in holding him to the same standards he'd once used to justify stepping on me. Over the next year, we worked hard. We streamlined cluttered assortments, cut dead inventory, integrated online pickup more smoothly, relaunched a version of Community Hub that actually made sense. We used data intelligently this time, tested in small groups of stores, adjusted based on real feedback. My team analysts, managers, store leaders got credit. In emails, in decks, in promotions. I made sure of that. Mark adjusted. At first, he struggled. Old habits die hard. He'd slip and say my program when talking about something his team had built. I'd correct him. Ours, I'd say pointedly. Or theirs. You're the leader, not the inventor. Over time, I watched him change. Or maybe just reveal a side he'd never prioritized. He started bringing junior managers into meetings, letting them present. He started sending me emails that began with, Sophia had a great idea. See attached, instead of pretending it had dropped from the sky fully formed into his inbox. He still annoyed me sometimes. Old resentment doesn't vanish. But he became useful. To the region. To the people under him. And, honestly, to my own healing. Because watching him learn to do what he'd once refused to share credit was strangely satisfying. Not because I'd forced an apology out of him. Because I'd helped build a system where stealing didn't pay. About 18 months into my tenure, our region hit its targets for the first time in years. We weren't number one. But we weren't on the chopping block. We were steady. Growing slowly. At the annual leadership summit, the CEO called us out. Midwest has made an impressive turnaround, she said. Big thanks to Jenna and her team. I stood. Accepted the applause. Made sure to name-check the managers and analysts who'd done the work. No program is one person, I said into the mic, hearing my own words echo against the ones Mark had once used to erase me. We did this together. Afterward, in the reception, Rachel clinked her glass against mine. I knew you'd be good, she said. I didn't realize you'd be this good. Still think about that old decision? I asked. Every time someone mentions Community Hub, she said. Hiring you back was the best kind of second chance. I thought about that for a moment. Whose second chance? Mine? Or theirs? Maybe both. People like neat stories. They want me to say that I eventually fired Mark. That I had him escorted out by security. That he cried. It didn't happen that way. One day, a couple of years after I'd come back, he came into my office with a folder. Not performance reports. Travel brochures. What's this? I asked. My 2-week notice, he said. I'm taking an early retirement offer. Going to consult a bit. Spend more time with my family. Maybe actually work on a car for fun, instead of staring at spreadsheets all the time. I looked at him. You're leaving on your own terms, I said. As much as anyone does, he said. Before the company decides for me. He hesitated. There's something I've been meaning to say, he added. And I figured if I don't say it now, I never will. I waited. I'm sorry, he said simply. For taking credit for your idea back then. For not giving you a fair shot at that promotion. For helping create a culture where that was normal. It wasn't right. It wasn't a perfect apology. There were no grand gestures. No offers to make it up to me. Just, too late to change the past. Right on time to lighten its weight. Thank you, I said. And for what it's worth, he added, you ended up where you were supposed to be. They needed you more than I did. Maybe, I said. But that doesn't mean what you did was okay. I know, he said. I just wanted you to hear it anyway. We shook hands. That was that. No fireworks. No HR drama. Just two people who'd once been bound by a lie, each walking away a little more honest. If you're listening to this and thinking, I wish I could march back into my old job as the boss, I get the fantasy. It's a good one. I won't lie. Walking into that conference room, seeing Mark's face when he realized I was his new boss, scratched an itch I'd carried for a long time. But here's what I learned. The real revenge wasn't the job title. It wasn't the office. It wasn't being able to put regional director on LinkedIn while he still called himself manager. The real revenge was this. I became the kind of leader he never was. I gave my people credit. I used my power to build, not hoard. I learned from the hurt instead of marinating in it. And I did it in a way that meant, when someone under me had a great idea, they never had to wonder if I'd steal it. They just had to wonder how fast we could get it in front of the right people with their name on it. Would I erase what happened at Brightway if I could? Part of me would like to. Part of me knows that if I did, I might still be someone who believed loyalty alone was enough. That HR was there to save me. That boss has always had my best interests at heart. Instead, I learned something harder and more valuable. Companies are made of people. Some good, some bad, some in between. You can't control all of them, but you can control which ones you become. My boss stole my idea and my promotion. Years later, I came back as his regional director. I didn't do to him what he did to me. I did something worse for his ego, and better for everyone else. I made sure the system rewarded the behavior I wish he'd shown me. And then I let his own choices, past and present, write the rest of his story. Thank you for listening to mine.